And we are live with 89 days and 4 hours to go exactly until the 4th annual AHRA No Name Nationals. Who all is here already? Cutter Down Garage was here before noon. Danny Boyd was here before him. The one-eyed cat, he says he and Wendy are seeing this from Cleveland this evening. He must be at his Uncle Sonny's. Cope, of course, thought it was funny because I used his thumbnail. He made the little spoof there on the Cannonball Run promotional poster there. I thought that was kind of funny. And I looked at that thing. I looked at it and I was looking at all the characters. I said, that's pretty cool. I said, I wonder why I'm not on there. I saw the obvious. Oh, gosh. Unfinished Project says Dart Sport. Howdy. Lars, of course, is here. Mrs. One-Eyed Cat, JB's Little Shop. Victor Prinzum, I don't know. I'm not tracking that one. Danny Boyd says Terry Bradshaw, Sammy Davis Jr. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, great movie. Big Bad Jones liked the thumbnail as well. Yeah, I got a chuckle out of that. I don't know what possessed Cope to make that, but it's a good one. Buff is looking sharp in the thumbnail. Indeed he is. Matthew is here. Hello, glad you're here. 6th Street Garage, Mohawk 62. Buff Del Campo. If you didn't see the thumbnail tonight, you're on it. Make sure to check that out. Not everybody catches the thumbnail. Mohawk, kind of expected that comment out of your wife more than I would you. Pure Pontiac Garage. Colleen is here, wielding the wrench. Howdy. SSR Performance. Big James, glad you're here. My Aunt Nancy's watching. Howdy. If you haven't seen my last couple of shorts, I put one up of a baby grand piano that's in the lobby of our local hospital here, and it's really cool. It's just sitting there, which is a really nice lobby with all these trees and such. And anyway, I asked her, I said at one time we were over there, I said, you should play that next time we're over here. So, I don't know. Maybe we'll get... You guys want to see video of Aunt Nancy playing a piano? We need to make that happen. Turbo Tom is here. Bigfoots and Mopar's Bigfoot Mark. Howdy. Thumper is here. Mean Street Mopar asks, what's up, everyone? Well, you see it. It's Friday night. Yeah. Glad everybody could make it here that is here. Hey, I'm having fun with the 30 Shorts in 30 Days challenge. How about you guys who are doing it? I think it's a blast. Reminds you how much cool stuff we see in every day. If you have not seen my short I put up today, I captured this really cool rainbow in Christiansburg. It's practically over my neighborhood. I was driving and I saw it and I crested the hill and I said, man, I bet the best place to get the biggest view of that is from Sunset Cemetery. So I went up on top of the hill and got it. And it was pretty cool. I ask in the description, what do you think of when you see a rainbow? Because there's a lot of things you could think of. You could think of, water refracting, light refracting around water in the atmosphere. You could think of that. You could think about the Book of Genesis. You could think about the gay stuff. You could think about Jeff Gordon. You could think about the DuPont logo he had. You could think about, there's all kinds of things that the rainbow could mean. You could think of the $700 4-forward manual valve body. There's a lot of things a rainbow could mean, right? So I just put that in the description, but I think rainbows are cool. It's just really neat. I like the science of the rainbow, actually. Yeah. Don is saying, me and Wendy made it to Uncle Sonny's just fine. Bigfoot Mopars has been doing, the shorts are pretty good. Back to the 50s car show this weekend. Yep. If a guy had a 63 Belvedere, it would qualify to enter. Yes, if a guy did. Blue Grit thinks a pot of gold at the end with an Irish guy smoke. But see, there you go. I didn't even think of that one. It's all kinds of things. But I don't know. I think it's neat. I just think it's neat. I like the science behind them. I think that's really cool. I saw one where only saw half, but I saw two of those over the road, and I thought of Cope saying the 700R4 forward manual trans brake was a double rainbow. He told someone that called in at his Black Friday sale one time. The someone happened to be unfinished project, but he didn't know that when he said it, which means he would tell a customer that. I didn't. I posted the short of the big one I saw in Christiansburg. We could see both ends, but the one that I saw both ends was really cool. Yeah, here it is. It was on I-81. I thought that was pretty neat. That was yesterday or day before. And then I saw the one where you could see both ends. Anyway, it was neat. And in other unimportant news, I was showing our friend Lars, we were talking about fire extinguishers and how you shop for them. And I told him some just little things I've learned about them. So first of all, like the cheaper fire extinguishers, like the disposable ones you can't even recharge, will have a plastic neck on them. And I mean this area right here, where the gauge and the hose and the valve and all come together at the bottle. If that area is plastic, I won't buy that one. That's a really cheap disposable fire extinguisher. Still better not having a fire extinguisher, don't get me wrong. But if you're going to invest in a good one for your house or your shop or whatever, I always make sure that part of the thing is metal. Good ones are aluminum. And so I was showing Lars, I said, I saw this one at Kroger. It's a Badger. I think those are made in Ohio. They are made in America. They're good. That's what you want. Then I showed him another one. That's a 10-pound extinguisher. Then I showed him another one. This one's at Lowe's. It's not for sale at Lowe's. This is just one that's in service at Lowe's. It's a 20-pound simplex Grinnell metal neck. That's a good one. Mine are all Amerex, made in Alabama. They have an aluminum block up there on top that screws in the bottom. But anyway, talking with fire extinguishers with Lars, you want the biggest one too that each member of your family can handle. So if you got small kids, 10-pound extinguishers are good. If you got kids big enough to handle a 20-pound extinguisher, or just adults in your house, great, do that. You'll never say, I wish I had, smaller extinguishers when you're putting them on a fire. But you also say, I wish I had an extinguisher that my 5-year-old could use or 8-year-old could use on a fire if he had to. So anyway, Lars and I were talking about extinguishers, and that was, that was the topic. So showing him some examples of different ones. The thing I used to do is we had this New River Valley Homegrown Business Alliance, and I was on the board for it. And I was also a customer and had an ad in their magazine. And people had different coupons they would give away with their businesses, right? Like the restaurants would say, bring in this coupon for something, buy one, get one free or something like that. And everybody had a different coupon. My coupon in the book was, if you buy or sell a house with me, you get a free fire extinguisher. And I'd give away an American-made Amerex, fire extinguisher, 10 pounds, all of that. I just thought, what? People always thought that was funny. Like somehow it means I want their brand new house to burn down. But I'm like, no, this is the thing most people don't think about when they buy a new house, is get a new fire extinguisher. I think that way. I also didn't have my garage burned down when I had a little shop fire either. So, you got to have these things. All right, I went on a tangent about fire extinguishers. So, who else is here? What else are they doing? I saw Blue Grit get in here. Pepper says he hasn't made a car show this year, decided to work rather than go out in the rain for the last one. I understand that. Bigfoot Mark says, just got a clutch and flywheel, might be bringing a fresh 440 swap 4-speed club cab to No Name Nationals. Oh, that sounds great. Who doesn't want to see that? That actually sounds really cool. Lunar's here. Lunar is here, and you know what? I've been meaning to do this. In fact, I could do a short on it. I may do a short on and do it on this live here. Lunar sent me something really cool. I'll do that here in a minute. Slant Daily Garage says, I'm driving from Memphis to Woodstock, Virginia this weekend. Does anyone have strut rods for an A-body Mopar along the way? Strut rods for A-body Mopar. Let me think about that, Professor P. You're doing this tomorrow, right? Let me look right after this live. I might. I'm trying to think if I've got a set that doesn't go to. I might have that. I really might have that. Hot Rod Guy Garage Russell is here. Howdy. Ginger is here. Buff asked what caught fire in your garage. Yeah, a few years ago I was cleaning and I had a little bit of a fire. Wasn't a good thing. Wasn't a good thing. I had some solvent catch on fire. It wasn't pretty, but I got it put out. No big deal. Thumper says, I have an old halon extinguisher that found its way home with me. Got to be careful with those. Always be up with. Oh, yeah, I've used those. Had some friends that had a business and they used to charge fire extinguishers. And yeah, we've dealt with those. Up Saturday, back Sunday. That is turning and burning, man. But I after this live, I'll look. I don't know for sure that I do. So what it is, I've got a couple of different A-body front ends, but the thing is my memory's foggy on them. Like I don't know for sure that I have both or one or one of them. I know one of them, one of those rods, some idiot cut with a torch because he didn't know how to take the front end out. It's like that when I got it. So I'm not sure what I have. If I do, though, I mean, you're welcome to them. I'll give them to you if I have them. That's the catch. I gotta look. Main Street Mopar says, I've been getting plenty of views from the shorts, but no new subscribers. Yeah, not yet. It just, you never know exactly what sticks. I haven't been getting as many subs from shorts as I used to either. And I'm hearing that from everybody. It's just kind of an eBay, or not eBay, gosh, a YouTube thing. It's just the way it works. Also, too, I've been looking at my shorts counter in studio. They surge up a bunch of views, and then you look about an hour later, and they go down. And then they recover. It's weird. It's wild how that happens. You lose like 10, 15% of them after about an hour, and then they come back. It's just strange. Bigfoot Mark says that he wants to crush Thumper for the Blower King title. Ooh, we need to see this happen. Colleen asks Lunar, what do I have to send you for block-off plates for a Mazda 3.0? Good question. Slant Daily says, Mean Street, it just takes time. Yes, it does. It does take time. And you never know. Those shorts you do, one of them could catch fire later, and you'll get a bunch of subs out of nowhere and look, and one of those things will have a bunch of views. That does happen from time to time. I just need one. What, are they the same on both sides? Just flip. Is it the same stamping? Because I know they curve, but is the rod the same on both sides, just flipped over? Because if you just need one, I have a much greater chance of having that. Let me know. I have a much better chance of having the one because I think one of them been cut with it. I can't remember exactly because some of this stuff I've just acquired and I just have to look. But if you just need one, I got a better chance, of course. Thumper says you don't have enough engine and have too much car to achieve that. I don't know, Mark. I'd take that as a challenge. Because remember, no matter who says what matters is what you do in the 660 in Sykeston. Well, Hot Rod Guy Garage says he's had better luck swapping the two. That's fine. But the thing is, the daily short challenge is the challenge for the No Name 500 guys. That's what we're doing. And so people who are playing the analytics is great. We're just doing a short everyday challenge. That's what we're doing. Bluegrass says, my neighbor lost his fire engine in his garage fire. Wow, that's a crazy thing to have happen. Oh, my. Thumper says, I put a short up today and got all 37 views. Apparently, YouTube doesn't like it when you put Merc and, well, probably doesn't know what to do with that word because it's such a weird, I mean, people spell it all different ways when they try to do that. Rod is straight. Oh, it's the strut rod. I forgot an A-body. And why would I forget this? It's threaded on both ends of those. I forgot that. I was thinking it was curved at the control arm end. No. I was stupid. That's right. I forgot. It's threaded at both ends. That's right. Duh. Yeah, I'll look and see what I got. Mohawk says, I'm just having fun doing the shorts. Yeah, and that's the reason to do it. Thumper never got a notification. Okay, it's latest thing picks. Cool. Hey, if you send me those pics, Professor P, I'll put them up on the screen. Yeah, and that's cool. I mean, Russell he's just watching what YouTube changes, what sticks. That's cool. When it comes to channel building stuff, just you guys do whatever works for you. Do whatever you enjoy. Yeah, Bigfoot Mark, if you don't mind, if you can send me a text when the live is over, it's literally going to be probably 800-900 comments from now before that live is over. I don't want to forget. Or Miss Secretary Colleen, if you would, either way. Colleen is really good like that. I really appreciate her for that. She's really good like that. Oh, you know what? I need to go get something. I will be right back. Back already. All right. I've been meaning to show this on my live. So I showed off the original card buddy that Lunar sent, and he has sent me this. So the manifold version that goes on top of your intake and has the tray on top, that's the OG style. And this, I think, was shortly thereafter. This is the hat style. So it goes on your 4150 sized carb, and then has the tray on the top. And then there's a circle cast in the top if you do want to knock out for a stud. He opted to leave that hole, but he did locate it for you. Okay. So anyway, that's cool. He sent me that. I think it's neat. That's neat. And these. And this was a neat bonus here. I have not opened the bag on these yet. So this is going to be an unboxing journey with me. So I don't give him a lot of credit for this. He packs his stuff really right. See this? That material in there? It's like a honeycomb paper material. He uses good boxes and all that stuff. And the you see the Card Buddy, Lunar's Outlaw Garage, made in America. He does a good job with that. Then this was in here too. And this is something new he's doing. I'm going to make good use of these. Small block Mopar exhaust port block off plates. Double click to edit. Okay. But anyway, yeah. I really do appreciate made in USA on everything. He puts that on everything. We need to see more of that in general in the world. But I have yet to open these. And I've got plenty of things that need these right now. So let's check it out. Shuts it with the stickers. Okay. So let's see what we got here. This is a real unboxing review. We're doing this as live as it gets, including dropping one on the way down. All right, what do we have here? We have 4 of these, 2 of those. So we've got 4 of these that go on the ends. I'm not fitting this on there, but that certainly does look right. And then we got 2 of these, obviously, that go on the middle. So first impressions, just from looking at them, they look great. They look fine. You can tell that that's the end that was, I think enough angle on that to see it. That's the end that was on the bed, you can tell. And then I believe, and then that end is textured. But yeah, these look great. Look like they're going to fit just fine. When I actually stick them on an engine, I'll try to do a short about that. But yeah, I mean, I'm all for it. I think it's great. So we'll be checking the fitment out on that. I mean, my gosh, we all know I got enough small block Mopars around here, so we'll be doing that. But anyway, I've been wanting to show you guys that stuff. I hadn't taken the plates out of the bag yet. I wanted to do that on the live. Yeah, he does it. I got to tell you, you know, and it is not a small thing. When I get something that has been put in a nice box and all like that, and I just like that. I show when people have pride in their stuff like that. And I try to do that with the No Name National stuff. If you ever ordered anything, No Name Nationals, fulfillment, shirt, hat, or anything, it really comes nice packaging and all of that. That really matters to me. So. Colleen says, Big Mike, love Trump's toupee. Hey, Colleen, if you want to put up a link to that, that's a good video. Check it out. You'll see what she's talking about there. Blue Brick Garage says, the latest questionable screw-up is I disconnected a brake line and it barely had half a single flare. Well, all I know is that stainless is a single 37-degree flare because it's more brittle. And, of course, mild steel, we do a double 45. But I don't know that the single scares me so much, depending on what it is. Most people, what I've found, believe it or not, I don't know that this used to be the case, but at one time, a lot more people knew how to do flares. I'm finding today a lot of people have no idea. They just don't mess with them. And, you know, it's an art to get that thing right. And the cheap flaring tools have a really hard time doing steel flares, a really hard time. If you're going to do steel flares, you have to have a really good flaring tool. Those little clamp together jobs just don't want to do it. And everybody says, well, the answer to that is use the nickel copper. Well, okay, but some applications you really need steel, and I like the steel. I prefer it, and you just need a good flaring tool. All right, Professor P sent me this. Very cool. Thank you, sir. Yeah, I had in my mind it had the angle because I know some cars do. I just couldn't remember. Anybody Mopar is indeed straight. Yeah, he's exactly right. I've got to look and see what I got, buddy. I probably do have one, actually. So. And thank you, Miss Secretary, for sending me that. Much appreciated. You guys are super helpful for me with that kind of stuff. Dust Devil Brian is here. Hello, sir. Buff says, talking about one short a day. Last year, this time I had about 360 subscribers. I've done one a day for a year. I'm one sub short of 5,100 a day. It works. Yeah, Buff really, when we did the short a day challenge last year, which ran the exact same time frame from the 5th of June to the 4th of July, it was exactly the same time last year. Buff had 360 subs, and he wanted to do it because he was part of the No Name 500 to get his 500 subs. He just never stopped. He's been doing it ever since, and his are valuable. He has great info in his shorts. Really, you should go back and watch Buff Del Campo's the shorts that he posts. There's a lot of really good tech stuff in there, and yeah, he's over 5,000 subs now. So. Lunar's block off plates are great. Yeah, I like these. They look great. So we're going to test them out and see how they fit. I fully expect they will. He's an R&D kind of guy, so we'll see what he does. See what it does. JB says, can't stay long. Have stuff to do. Understand, man. Appreciate you. Do we have a link to Lunar stuff? Well, Miss Secretary, you know you can vouch for the product. You've got his stuff. You can put up the link too if you'd like. And do remember, the No Name Nationals folks get a 5% discount on Car Buddies there. And the link to that's below in this video. That'll actually take you to his website. You can go to it there. 5% discount to the No Name Nationals folks. And the people who buy that way, he said there's, what we'll do is for however much he sells, I'm going to earn a little bit of credit, and then we'll do a giveaway on here. So we just give back to the community. So I certainly don't need any kind of commission or anything on them. It's whatever. And the same thing with super chats and everything. Whatever this YouTube stuff does, I just put it back in the community. Whatever it is, whether it's a little bit of revenue from ads on my channel, whether it's super chats, stuff like that with Lunar, you know, as he sells to this community, gives back. The Edelbrock deal, same thing. We just want to give everything back to this community because you guys are awesome and you deserve it. Danny Boyd says, pneumatic flarer. I've never been fortunate enough to own one, but I'll tell you what, they are some really good flare tools out there if you want to spend some money. And who knows, one of these years I might do that. Captain Dew is here. Hello, sir. Dustel would like to get some of those plates. Yeah, hit Lunar up. Tell him we sent you. Mohawk says, we used to use that honeycomb cardboard, only bigger, to cushion Bradley tanks when we dropped them out of the pack of C-130s at 800 feet. Ooh. Stainless doesn't crush the steel as readily. Stainless is temperamental, man. It's hard. It's brittle. So that's why they only flare it to 37 and single. That is why. Yeah, see, Blue Grit's talking. I just got Eastwood vice-mounted flaring, right? Anna 67 looks like they just shoved non-flare brake line and tightened the nut. Yeah, right, exactly. A lot of people don't know how to make a flare. And I'm telling you what, your life rides on those. So, Colleen says, Lunar having issues. If there's sight, call me. Okay. Dust Devil likes the NICOP. I'm old school. I just go with the regular steel. And just me. Everybody's different. And, you know, it just kind of weirds me out, the idea of using that on a brake line. It's probably fine, but that's just me. My dad, on his military Jeep, used regular copper for a brake line on his Jeep. So, not the white one that you guys have seen in videos, not that one. He had to put brake lines on it too, but I wouldn't allow it. He did the other copper ones when I was probably 5 years old on that other Jeep. So if it ever comes out and I ever get the green Jeep out of storage and want to drive it, one thing I got to do right off the bat is got to put brake lines on it. The white one, he wanted to do that too. I said, you can't do that. He said, yeah, I did it on the other one. I said, well, okay, we're not going to test fate on this one. So I gave my buddies at the hose house down here in Christiansburg a heads up. I said, my old man needs these lines. And they got him all hooked up with proper steel brake lines. All he had to do was put them on. But yeah, he's got regular soft copper brake lines on his M38A1, and they got to go, of course. But they don't need to go because it's not going anywhere at the moment. Danny Boy says, it seems like a rock kick back and think, I don't know about that. That will be kind of wild. I just don't know. I don't know. It's probably fine. Big Mike says, I invested in a really good flaring kit with my builds. Brakes are kind of a necessity. I would agree with that. Dust Devil locked up all four on the track with the NICOP. Good, that's cool. I like it when we evolve and learn things and find stuff that works. It's all great. I just don't have a lot of experience with it. A little bit, but hey. Hot Rod Guy Garage just ran brake lines on this pile of a Mustang. Cool. Bruce says, I rode in something really vintage last Saturday, a 1908 circus bandwagon. It took unleaded hay and oats. That's cool. I like that. You don't have a picture of that, do you? Can you text me a picture of that? And if you do, would you mind if I put it up on the screen? That is really cool. Natty Boy says, NICOP is soft. Yeah, that's why people like working with it, because it's soft. T's Good Time Garage. Good to be. Hey, man, glad to have you back. As you know, T, it's only 89 days, 3 hours, and 31 minutes until the 4th annual AHRA No Name Nationals. So we'll be seeing you soon as it is. Captain Dude says, anybody think using a marine battery is better than a plain car battery? Depends what you're doing with it. I do know people who've run marine batteries with alternators and everything and never had a problem. Of course, if you're not running an alternator, like on a drag car, that's what you want to use. That's what will be in the Dart Sport because that's what it had. Cool, man. You mean like PEX? Wait a minute. Hot Rod Guy Garage says, I've been doing NICOP lines for a while. They don't rust, flare better, and work fine. Yeah. You know what? Yeah, exactly. A lot of guys have got a lot of experience. I just don't have the experience with them. And people who've run a lot of, and it's much easier to work with. It's so much easier to work with. And yes, they don't rust. That's important. See, that's another thing, too. Thing about the steel is harder to work with and all that. And yes, it's got extremely good, pressure rating and all that stuff. Thing about the steel is it'll rust right there where it goes into the flare nut. And that's the worst part because it's a hard place to see. And that's where it'll rust and all that. And so that is a no-go. And the NICOPs are much better for that. He says dirt cars using brake. Well, I will say, but dirt cars are dirt. That's a whole different universe. Yeah. A lot of people like the Nikop, and they're having good experience with it. So we'll just see where that goes. But it's super popular. It's popular to the point you're probably just not going to see much steel done anywhere anymore. Now, I'll tell you, when you say nylon brake lines, the first thing that pops to my mind, and I know it's not going to be like that, but that nylon oil pressure gauge line is the worst for mechanical oil pressure gauges. I remember having some of that stuff get brittle and break, and I just no more. So now what I do is I put in the block, I put an inverted flare fitting in the block, and then I stick an actual 3AN or 4AN brake line right on it, braided steel brake line. And I use that for oil pressure. Never had a problem. Moves with the engine, doesn't break. It's great. That has not yet come in, Hot Rod Guy Garage, and Bruce's hasn't either. Okay. Cool, though. Blue Grit says, don't the Nikop lines corrode quicker? Fittings seem to corrode quicker. Is it a dissimilar metal thing issue? Again, Blue Grit, I don't know. But Russell will be a good one to know. I got to tell you, a lot of people in the chat have a lot of experience, that kind of thing. Russell's a really good builder with a lot of experience. He is definitely one of our get stuff done guys in the chat, and he's a good one to ask. He turns out a lot of work and has a lot of experience, and he's generally a good person to ask about all kinds of just general questions for that reason. Dust Devil Garage says, I'm wanting to replace my copper oil pressure with a 3 or 4 braider. Yeah, that's exactly it. That's what I use. Perfect. It's perfect. And I have never really liked the idea of having that thing just kind of that wire, that line hanging there or bending it when you pull an engine. But when you do the brake line, you can just unscrew it. You're good to go. Makes it a little easier for pulling your engine. Danny Boyd says, I remember in the year 19,981, my Buddha's 66 396 Chevelle Super Sport would leak oil onto the console. I believe that was not, yeah. So to me, when you get an oil pressure gauge mechanical, you open the package, you take your mechanical oil pressure gauge out and set it down. You take the nylon out of the package and you throw it in the trash. That's exactly what I do with that. It might have a good use, but not for that application. Dust Devil just likes anything AN. I can see that. It's cool. Did China make the Nikop? Maybe. Again, it's something I don't have much experience with yet. I may. I don't with that. Again, Russell's a really good dude to ask. Just that kind of stuff in general. He turns out a lot of work. We got a few guys in the chat who are like that, who do a lot of work. He's one. Most of the old parts are on. Ward is another. Turbo Tom, Rod Draws the Street Cars. A lot of these guys. Racer Ray, they just do so much. They got a lot of experience, just goes across the board with a lot of different stuff. Danny Boyd says, run copper like an ice maker line. Well, for an ice maker line, I think it'd be great. I think the nylon will probably be just fine for that too. Although one thing I can say about an ice maker line, if that thing breaks and you don't catch it, they can do a lot of water damage. I have seen those things just ruin do a lot of damage in a house. So, Cutter Down Garage says, I have a nice copper oil PSI line in the step band, keeping that. Yeah, well, so here's one thing. The copper line, if you run it to the gauge, is fine, but then do an AN over, do the braided brake hose over from the firewall to the block, because that way you don't necessarily have to run a hose that goes all the way to your gauge, but you have it on the part that flexes and all that. That's the way I got it. But yeah, if it works, fine, keep it. Yeah, nothing wrong with that. Bruce says, I'm inept doing stuff with a smartphone. Email to you. Got it right here. Here's Bruce's 1908 hay wagon. He said he wrote down. Now, I got to say, this did not have anything in my mind with what I thought it would look like. This does not look like anything that Bruce would ever be riding in, but you know what? I'll take his word for it. Looks cool. Hot Rod Guy Garage, Russell says, Knockoff Lines has its origins in European cars since the early 70s. Cool. You know, and here's, okay, so just this is kind of a different way. It has its origins since the early 70s, but did you guys know that that polymer frame pistols go back that far too? H&K had them. But you know why you never heard of them? They weren't good. It took a lot of years later for the Glock to make them, and then people were still like, yeah, I won't have any Tupperware gun. You don't hear that stuff anymore. Only like a 90-year-old 1911 guy would say something like that. But it took like 30, 40 years for them to be really accepted and all that stuff. I kind of think we're like that with those type of the nickel copper lines. They came out then, who knows if they're any good. Now they're kind of popular and all that. And, you know, after a few decades, they might be the thing and generally accepted in the standard. And that's great. I have no problem with that. But that's just how these things evolve. Bulkheaded at the firewall. It's exactly right. It's exactly how I've got mine. Blue Brick Garage, a friend burned his leg with one of those nylon lines when it broke under the dash. I won't run one. So, yeah. Dean apparently likes the thumbnail. If you have not seen the thumbnail for this live stream, you need to. It's a doozy. You know what I'll do? I'll put it up on the screen because not everybody sees the thumbnail of these. I don't know what it is with your browser or your phone or whatever, but our friend John Cope did the thumbnail, and just that alone tells you a lot. Here is the thumbnail. So this is from the movie Cannonball Run. It's Cope's take on how he modified that movie poster. I don't want that thing to focus. You'll see a lot of familiar faces on there if you look. Anyway, I can't get it to focus, but check it out on your phone because it's pretty funny. And Hot Rod Guy Garage is showing us. Yeah, here's the brake line kit for the dirt trackers. Nylon racing brake kit. Yeah, you can't run that on the street, but apparently for the dirt track guys, they can do that. Man, I sure hope we don't see any of that in tech. That's all I can say. I'm glad my dad never saw that. He'd been all about that. Bandwagon, not hay. Oh, okay. I don't know how I read that wrong. Okay, that makes more sense now. It still seems bizarre. Annual circus parade? Oh, okay. That's cool. I like that. All right. Looks like a Pakistani semi-truck. Maybe so. Maybe so. 17 is my favorite number. Glock is in a Glock 17. Gaston Glock's 17th patent. 17 was Darrell Waltrip's number. Yes, indeed. Thumbnail is great. I thought it was funny. I actually had to look at it a second time to realize where I was on that. Crystal Onyx, hello. Hot Rod Guy Garage, that's a whole new level of scary. I would agree. I'm telling you what, as somebody who has hit the brake pedal and had a steel line break as I was trying to stop, and I slid to a stop on a wall above a bank, goes down about 50 feet, I don't care about my brake lines. I'll tell you what, you won't catch me running a brake line that looks anything like the tires I drive on. I'll put it like that. And people who know me know exactly what I'm talking about. Captain Deuce says Cannonball Run 3 is Speed Zone with a cameo John Schneider. Yeah, that's right. Speed Zone is the name of the movie. It's got a Lamborghini skipping across some water. Yeah. Rabid Transit J is here. Howdy, sir. Buff Del Campo says, we ran nylon brake lines on aircraft forever, no problems. Okay. And what happens on an airplane? You lose your brakes when you have, a mile to stop or something. It's a little different than running around in town. And I bet they stay all, out of the weather and all that. I don't know. It just seems weird to me, the whole thing of nylon brakes. But you know what? That's just me. I'd have no peace having nylon brake lines on anything, but that's just me. Although, something I really want, and maybe I need to make something. I want to have a real brake on my riding mower of some kind. I don't know what, but I need to put some kind of real brake on the riding mower. I don't know if I could adapt a brake disc for a go-kart or something, but my mower came out of gear on me mowing one of my lots, and it wasn't nearly as bad as the steep street that I lost my brakes on last year, that I went and got airborne and all that stuff. That was really bad. This one was bad, but it wasn't that bad. This one, I came down a block and made the corner of Cody and Racine cooking, but it didn't get too hairy. And then it took me 200 feet to get stopped on the street. It wasn't good. So I'm like, I forget this stuff. I have got to just, I got to have a brake on that thing, because riding mowers do not have brakes worth anything on them, and they get old and stop working good, and they're not good to start with. The car skips best thing. Oh, that's great. Air brakes. Yeah. Dean's talking about adding to Facebook. I haven't added Facebook to my life yet. How about that? Jamie Farr played the Sheik from the first 2 Cannonball Runs as the only cast in the 3rd film. Jonathan Reed says you don't need brakes on a lawnmower. Just hit something like I always do. Well, I was looking at what I was going to hit if I couldn't get it stopped. I really was. I was looking ahead like, am I going to take the yard, the bank? I don't know. I've got to do something here. It wasn't pretty. Instead, I opted to like, okay, I'm going to try to take this corner. And I did. I took all of it too, but nothing was coming. Whew. Reverse or bail out. There's no getting it in, or there's no getting it in anything. There's no getting it in gear, nothing. You are along for the ride. There's no getting it in. And bailing out, I didn't want to voluntarily take some injury. So I rode it out, but it wasn't good. I don't want to do that again. Jay said, try having no brakes on lawnmower 30. It's exhilarating. I have done that. I did that on Copley Avenue in Bluefield last year. I sure did. And I went airborne when I crossed Augusta Street too. It's just slightly, because when I came down to the bottom, the road is crowned and there's a manhole cover there, and I came down to the bottom and I hit it just hard enough that I had that little feeling where it was just kind of levitating a little bit. So for like a second or so, I was airborne. Whew. And the neighbors, I got it to stop and drove it back up, because it's only ever popped out of gear when I'm going downhill, never uphill. It's something about the way it is in the transmission, that thing. So I drove it back up the hill, and the neighbors said, man, you were cooking going down that hill. I'm like, no kidding. I said, it came out of gear. They didn't know how I was even going that fast. I'm like, yeah, you can't drive it that fast. Crystal says, I worked in strip clubs. I'm not worried I can handle it. Yeah, well, you probably handle about anything. This crowd's pretty tame by comparison, I'd imagine. Thumper says, using a nearby bush is how the 2 old ladies in the Walton stopped their car. I got to tell you, if you had like a hedgerow or something, it wouldn't be good, but it would be better than a lot of alternatives. Just finding a wide spot between the stumps and just covering up your eyes and get your fingers out of the way, and better than a lot of things you could hit. Heel hopping a lawn tractor sounds like it could be fun in the right circumstances. That street where I got it on wouldn't be the worst, and you could certainly get a lot more air. If you were to get up in the driveway on the upper side of that street and take off, you get a lot of air. And it would be kind of fun to do on purpose. There's plenty of room to stop. Problem is you got a street to go. You'd have to close the street off and do it. Well, there's no suspension on those things either, so when you go up and come down, you feel it. Jonathan Reed says, my snapper drive wheel fell off once going downhill. The mower ended up in the creek and I bailed. Oh my gosh. Colleen says, I've been dodging stumps all day. Pitfalls of clearing land. Crystal says that those beat up the blades. Yeah, and I kind of shortened a stump down a little with my rider just last week. Danny Boyd says, I just bought my first piece of steel equipment. Cool. I bet you'll enjoy it. They make good stuff. They still do. It's like Craftsman. I can't vouch for their stuff at all anymore. They're an American brand that sold out and turned to junk. Still makes good stuff. Cutter Down Garage is the box truck I'm doing was Jamie Farr's relative. He had this food truck in Connecticut for decades named Jordan, my friend knew. Cool. Have you done a short on it? Is it on your channel? We'd like to see that. Captain Dude says he rode a lawnmower with no engine or no brakes down a hill, hit a pothole, and it jump steered the ditches. I was on the side of the rear fender. My little brother was driving. Oh, my gosh. Says their family owns a lot of supermarkets overseas. Cool. Mohawk wants to know if you cut down all the shade trees. I like trees. The only thing I don't like is when the trees threaten the property. And I've got that on one of my properties. I got these big old trees, and I love them. But, man, they are scary. I mean, some of that needs to come down. It just needs to happen. But, man, I've always liked those giant trees. Bruce says just a few weeks ago, a woman tipped her riding lawnmower. It got her legs before the blade stopped. Oh, my gosh. So dangerous. Cutting grass can be a dangerous thing in general. I think push mowers are more dangerous. I think you got more opportunity to get your feet with a push mower. That was a couple miles down the road here in the southwestern part of Virginia. Yeah. Crystal says, just don't do what JB did with the poison ivy on his face. Let me tell you, poison ivy is some nasty stuff. That stuff eats me up. Ooh, poison ivy is some nasty stuff. It's bad enough to get healed up from poison ivy in the first place. It's even worse if you got problems healing up getting poison ivy. Colleen was cleaning the overgrowth in the back. Yeah. This year, I cleaned out my entire fence row and took 10 10-foot trailer loads of brush out of my fence row and just raked and cleaned. And it's so much better, but it was a lot of work. It just really needed to be done. It was bad. Had a storm and took a bunch of limbs down. And while I was getting the limbs out, I'm like, yeah, okay, we're just going to finish this job and really do it right. So I got it all done. Bruce is not very allergic to it. I'm very allergic to it. I hate that stuff. Crystal says, push mowers, no worries until I see a snake and then leave it running as I run away screaming. Yeah, well, I tell you, I'm not a fan of killing anything, but I'll tell you what, a push mower will do a number on a snake. Let me tell you, they'll turn off their birthdays quick. Thumper says, get sheep rather than mowing, or do like I do and park cars on the grass. Yeah. I'm telling you what, you'd be amazed. Cars can take out a 6 by 16 foot square of grass completely passively. Big Mike got in, had to sell some hay. Did I miss anything important? It's this live. What do you think? Just having fun like normal. Glad you're here. Captain do say push mower's more dangerous. I totally agree. He says, my late granduncle got his leg removed by mowing a wooden stick from blade. I can't read that, man. But anyway, yeah, push mowers, I think, are more dangerous. I mean, sure, the riding mower could do more damage, but it will be much harder to get it in position to do the damage. Danny boy, where men are men and sheep are lawnmowers. Okay, sounds good. You need some goats for poison ivy control. Oh, yeah, they do. Goats love to eat poison ivy. And Jethro is not allergic to it at all. He will roll around in that stuff and have a big old day, and nothing happens. The problem is he rolls around in it, then he'll jump in the bed. And if he's still got that stuff all over his coat, I mean, I don't want any of that. But yeah, Jethro just roll around in that stuff. And that said, I don't think I've ever gotten any from him doing that. It might be too many steps removed from him getting any on him, and then again, his coat might not be good at getting it on in the first place, and then getting it on sheets and on me. It might be too many steps removed. So I've never gotten it that way, but it still is kind of like, man, I hope he doesn't get any of that stuff in here. Mohawk says, I'm one of the lucky ones. None of the poison ivy, oak, or sumac bothers me. You are lucky. Let's stay away from that stuff. I noticed 5 different kinds of leaves on the stuff that grows up the side of one of my houses. And I know at least one of them I'm very allergic to. I don't know which one, so I just don't touch any of it. This dude that does work for me, he's not allergic to it at all. He can probably eat the stuff. I need him to go over and get it for me. Not that I can't get it. I just can't touch the stuff. And last time I tried to take that down myself, I wore gloves up to here. It didn't matter. I wound up getting that stuff all over me. Riding mowers can be safer on top of the blade instead of walking. I like it better. There's less opportunity to get the blade on top of you with a rider. Not to say they're not dangerous, because they still can be. Main Street Bo Parkin says, I'm also not allergic to poison ivy. That's great. Big Mike says, I give poison anything a wide berth. Absolutely. Me too. I stay away from that stuff. Cutter Down Garage just made a short. Cool. I want to see that. If one of the mods wants to put up the link to it, that'd be great. Matt Travers says, I was mowing back in the 70s when my feet slipped under a push mower and it clipped the end of my sneakers off but missed my toes. Whew. I know a guy who got he lost some pieces of toes to a push mower when he was younger. And I probably didn't know that about that guy for 30 years. Which wasn't a thing. Johnny C says, I mowed grass and weed mowed on hillsides for 30 years. Had a couple of fun experiences. Oh, I bet you did. I had to mow around plenty of rattlers. They move away most times. Just give a minute. Yeah, most times. I've run over a bird on a mower before. Thing flew out of a tree and just whipped around. And right as I was crossing, flew under the deck and flew out the side. So, in pieces. Peckerwood Custom says, I was riding the mower downhill and turned too fast. The wheels came off the ground. I put my foot down to stop it, tipping as the blades chopped a stick and threw it through my ankle. Oh, man, that was a hard break. Oh, my gosh. Captain Dew is allergic to poison ivy and oak. Okay. Captain Chaos has a weakness. Go to Tractor Supply and get the livestock gloves, go up to your shoulder. Maybe, but I'll tell you, here's the thing. You got all this just sweating crazy working in that stuff, and it inevitably you're going to somehow touch your face or something. I would rather kick a little cash to the dude who does work for me to get it, because it doesn't bother him at all, and everybody's happy. And we're timed. I got to grow up a few buildings that needs to come down. Rob's Rods and Streetcars. How's it going, sir? Just talking about some of the more accomplished mechanics in the chat, and your name comes up, of course. So he just got back from fishing. Well, that's cool. I haven't been fishing in years. Dean Stevenson says, ivy is best avoided. Poison ivy. And he further says, in very Dean Stevenson fashion, as all good girls know, when you do everything right and society hates you for it, that's an Anne Hathaway syndrome. Okay. Anne Hathaway is a good actress. I'll give her that. Johnny C says, have to be super careful around students. Check all lawns for possible project. Oh, I bet. Because they would never think anything about throwing something on the yard. Crystal says, don't forget the face shields from the COVID years. Yeah, I don't know. With my luck, I'd have a neighbor with a camera that says, look at this moron out in this yard. No, not here, but some other properties for sure. Bruce says I'm probably the least accomplished in this chat, but probably the best clarinetist, maybe. That's not true. When you read something like that from somebody that humble, you know that it's not true at all. Bruce is actually a really smart and accomplished guy. Don't let him fool you. Although that said, he is very different in a lot of ways from everybody in his chat. Good dude. Very good dude. I am very privileged to have such a wide array of friends. They're all very different. I love the diversity in the friends I have. And if I was trying to pick two of the most different kind of people I probably could that I know, I don't know who the other one would be, but one of them would be Bruce. That's probably how I would do my linear line of differences, I guess you'd say. And then we'd have to pick two other qualities and do a different axis, right? Danny Boyd says, I'm nowhere near the best mechanic here, but I'm pretty decent. Yeah, and you know, that's the thing. There's all different levels of everything here. Bruce says, may I ask a question that might get everyone laughing? Well, go for it. And just to remember, we do try to keep a family-friendly channel, but sure. Crystal says, I wish I had my phone on video today. We say something mowing grass and watching their phone talk about distracting. I don't watch my phone when I mow. I can't do that. I can't mow and do that. Occasionally, when I'm on a long straight stretch mowing the big yard I got over at one of my places, it's an acre, I'll check my text when I'm on the back stretch because I'm going all of 3 miles an hour. I'm not going to turn for a while. I check my messages, see if I have anything important. I don't read them all, but if I got something that's really important, I'll stop and read it and reply if I need to, like if I'm waiting on something for business or something. But and I'll do that every, I don't know, 5 or 10 laps. Johnny C says, the task of mowing lawns seems simple to many, but it does take experience to go home uninjured. I'll tell you about mowing is I've been mowing for almost 40 years. And you get experience and you learn all kinds of tricks and things and the best, most efficient way to mow a yard when you do that same yard a lot. And it's just a thing. I mean, Johnny C says the task of mowing lawns seems simple to many, but it does take experience to go home uninjured. Yeah, you just don't want to get hurt. It bear repeating. It's a skill you can always get better. Yeah. Thumper says, I'm not a mechanic, but I play one on TV when I'm not being a space shuttle door gunner. There you go. My grandpa was the door gunner. Oh, he was a waist gunner, actually. Cutter Down Garage says, if you never look at the directions putting new stuff together, you usually get good at reverse engineering. Maybe, but you also sometimes put things together wrong and put a lot of wear and tear on stuff doing it the wrong way and all that. And that's, you're right. You could probably get good at reverse engineering. Some people can. I'm a big believer in reading the directions. I may not follow them, but I'm going to read them first. Because most of the time, the people who design it and engineer it and all that stuff usually have good ideas for using it. But sometimes I will read those directions and say, nope, I'm going to do a deviation here. In fact, I did that today. I had to do it. So I had to, there you go, Bruce. I started the sentence with so just for you. I was doing some plumbing and I had a broken, cold faucet on a shower. And this is a shower I don't use because, you know, I got 3 bathrooms. I don't need 3. I need 1 bathroom. But I decided to fix this even though I didn't need to. This is in Jethro's bathroom, and he doesn't use the shower, but he does use the tub. I decided to fix the shower. So I couldn't find a faucet replacement cartridge that worked because it's obsolete. I thought a 12C would work, but it won't. It's just a millimeter wrong. It just won't quite fit. So then I looked at Lowe's, and then some dude, and this is the most annoying thing ever. I'm at Lowe's, I'm looking at the big wall of cartridges, and some guy who, this is like the equivalent of a close talker, decides I'm kind of kneeling down, looking at the lower rows, trying to read all of them. This guy just stands there right over top, but just looking at what he wants. I'm like, man, just what? Give me. I can't stand that. So I backed away. He's just thumbing through everything like I wasn't even standing there. I took a picture and sent it to Lars. I'm thinking, hey, this guy just, you know, I just thought, well, I'm just, since I wasn't looking at anything. So then when he got done with whatever it was he was doing, I went back over there, and then I saw in the corner these yellow tags on sale for $2.12 a piece. What is that? Like 90% off, literally? Is that about 85, 90% off? These 3 faucets that were all some obscure American standard they don't make anymore, and that was it. That's what I needed. That's the good news. The bad news is all 3 of them were for hot. I needed a cold. So I went ahead and replaced both, gave the hot side a fresh one, and put a hot in the cold. Is all I had. And the knob now, you have to turn one down for on and the other one's up for on, but still both go parallel for off, and that's the most important part, and it doesn't leak. And I don't know where I'll ever find one in cold, or if I even want to get back in and revisit the job. But anyway, it now works. What had happened to it was that the end got broken in the faucet somehow. I don't know what he did, but it got broken, and I wound up turning the water off, and I never used it. And then right after that happened, Dad died not long after that, and I just never revisited it. Again, it's Jethro's bathroom. He uses the tub. This is where he gets his bath, but doesn't use the shower head, because if you guys have ever seen Jethro with a lawn sprinkler, you know why that doesn't work. Somewhere I have video of Jethro with a lawn sprinkler. I might make a short out of that. I gotta dig that up. But it will explain to you why he can't use the shower. Bruce says, I'm sick of fixing yard cart tires around here, willing to sacrifice them eventually, but want to use a fix-a-flat until then. Does the stuff work on the average puncture? From what I hear, that slime does work. And for yard carts, that would probably be perfect. The other thing that you might be able to do is you might be able to run a little bit tougher tire, like a multiply tire on that. What do you pull that with? Because if you're just using those little cheap single ply thin tires, that might be part of the problem. But the slime that they put in tires does work. It stays liquid and rolls around in there, and it'll find your punctures and it'll seal them. Crystal says, I'm good at taking appliances apart. Just don't ask me to put it back together. There you go. Mohawk leaves his phone in the house when he mows. Too many other things to think about while mowing. I agree. There used to be just... Mowing is like my old man thinking time. Gotta have that. Blue Grit flipped a mower going under a swing set. For years, the swings would move out of the way. Except that one time it cut the front and didn't let go. Yeah, I've actually had that happen before. I got one, my place has a swing set I mow around. Thumper says, wait, stuff comes with directions? Indeed. Tire shops hate to deal with any tire or fix-a-flat. Yes, but we're talking on a yard cart. And I think some of that slime will probably be perfect for what Bruce does. I would not recommend it in a tire for something else. Sometimes wire the dead man switch on the push mowers. Yeah, I hear you. I get it. It can be aggravating. Mater's got good news from the new orthopedic hand doctor. I can schedule it for July 10th or the 18th to fix my hand. Understood. Thumper says, is that what that paper full of Chinese writing is for? Flip it over. It'll have English on the other side. Might not be good English, but it'll be English. Captain Dew says, one type of riding mower I hate is, well, actually two is what I hate. Is that zero turn and automatic transaxle? I've had good luck with the automatic transaxle. I've driven the zero turns, and they work. And the automatic transaxle, they work too. I've not had any problem with that. I've had the belt come off the Cub Cadet with that one time. The zero turns just take getting used to. The thing about the zero turns is they're more complicated with hydrostatic drive and all of that. Yeah, I don't know. It's not my jam. But people have a whole lot of trees. They like them. Yeah, it's not my thing. Thumper's asking Jonathan Reed, but do you wear a red shirt? Danny Boy says it's creepy how often there's some fool who needs to look at exactly what you're looking at. Exactly. Oh yeah. I think that guy goes on tour all over the country. I'll show you that guy. Hey, by the way, Andrew Nelson says we won at 6 Summer Freaks 882 at 158. Cool. Well, congratulations, Team Nivlac 57. 882 at 158 plus. They won. Well deserved, guys. Let's see. Pretty sure I sent that picture to Lars since I was just standing there. Maybe I didn't. I can't find it now. X mark is a bumpy ride. Yeah. I don't know. Thumper says I mounted 2 light switches upside down when I built my house. It's interesting. It bugs me when people do that. Buff says green slime in my yard tractor tires ended the flat tire problem. There you go, Bruce. So Buff says it ended his problem. He's a good one to ask. Captain Do says that he doesn't like to fix a flat. Best to use a slime. I would agree with that. I think slime is superior for your garden tractor type tire stuff. Yep. Just the cheap Chinese tires came with inner tubes. Yeah, here's the thing about inner tubes I hate is the turn against the valve stem. And I'm afraid to run rim screws on them because I'm afraid of the depth on those beads, and you don't want to drill through and get a tire and so anyway, or not a tire, but you don't want to get through the tire into the tube. On a car tire, the depth is more predictable. So I would say, yeah, just run the slime in them. It's green. You can buy it at auto parts stores, or I think Walmart sells it and all that. Johnny C says the most fun is striping outfield during baseball season with a picky coach. I can imagine. Jonathan Reed likes the slime in his yard cart tires. Good deal. I think that's going to work out right for Bruce. We've got a lot of feedback for slime. This is a good place to ask that kind of question, Bruce. Because these guys have all been dealing with tires and anything in that realm. I wonder how much combined experience we have in this chat right now. How many centuries? We can have literally have 1,000 years of experience in this chat right now. So this is a good place for asking questions like that. Zero turns are for tractors don't fit. I guess. I know people have a lot of trees like them. Cut her down garage as I walk away for 2 minutes and come back. Okay, glad you came back. Thumper says I got a friend who did 6 Summer and he got on the 1320 video 2 days ago. Big green 71 Fairlane super slow. I've just never liked that name 6 Summer. I know people it's a fad to say it, and 6 and that means good. I just think of people nauseous and vomiting and ill. That's all. I just don't like. I just don't like it. So man, it's cool. I'm not saying anything about the event at all, but I'm not hip enough to use that kind of name and actually like it. I think of people who literally like have the flu or nausea symptoms and vomiting. That's what I think of when I hear sick. Someone is sick. Yeah, Dust Devil doesn't like it when the hot and cold are reversed. This one, all it means is they're on the correct side, but I wanted to have both faucet handles to where you would turn them up to turn the water on and down to shut them off. The reason being, I think it's safer that you can just press them both down to get that water off so you don't get scalded or anything. Or if you fell, you would fall against them and it would turn it off as you go down so that you don't get scalded or anything. I thought that was a safer way to do it. And I did it that way on the hot, but I couldn't do it that way on the cold, which is still better than the reverse. I may, one of these years, if I find the proper cartridge to put in there, swap the cold side out and get it the way I want it. I can't even reason through in my mind how they could even be different, because you look at that valve and would think it would be the same valve for both sides, but it's not. Have to really do some thinking to figure out how that works. Captain Do says, fix a flat, last like a few minutes. Slime can last for months. Yeah, slime is better for that. I think fix a flat was more intended for automotive applications. Yeah, Bad Tree Blake liked the thumbnail. Well, Bad Tree Blake is on that thumbnail. And it was perfect. And Bad Tree Blake, you know that thumbnail was made by Cope. I don't know what possessed him to do it, but I asked him, hey, can I use that for the live thumbnail? Thanks for joining us, man. Appreciate you. This Devil Garage says, do you know about biodiesel? Have you done any videos on it for Thumper? Good question for Thumper. Unfinished project. Yeah, here's a guy I know about that stuff. I've used a lot of slime and have come to the conclusion that it's a terrible band-aid. You'll be money and frustration ahead to buy new tires. That's his opinion. And he's a guy who does a lot of that kind of stuff, farm work, industrial work, he would know. So that's his opinion. Bruce says, just so you know, I hang out here for a bit every week or so in case anyone has a question about saxophone that I can answer. By the way, slime does not work on leaky sax or clarinet pads. If anyone has a saxophone question or clarinet question, this is the guy to ask right here. By the way, Bruce, you should know I put up a short on a grand piano here on my channel. So that's as close as we're getting to musical anything on my channel, but there you go. Danny Boy says, I knew a guy from Princeton, New Jersey who said sick in the 80s to describe something. Yeah. I mean, I've heard it. It's been around. It's just, I mean, I don't know. I guess I'm not hip enough to adopt that. No, whatever. Big Mike says, my neighbor runs a mobile tire service. I had to have him come over and fix the big tires on Donald Trump a couple of times. By the way, Donald Trump is a piece of equipment that Big Mike owns. They are fluid-filled for stability on the hillsides. Cool. Thumper says, nearly everyone I grew up with is German. Lots of us in Nebraska. Racer Ray there is just as German as I am. Yeah, I've actually seen both of them's last names, both Thumpers and Racer Rays, and they both have very German names. Halfwit Lab says, hello. How's it going? Battery Blake says, Colleen M9. Well, if she's Mama M to the third power, M cubed, I mean, how do we get 9? Mohawk 62 is talking about Rammstein, Deutschland, great song and video. That just weirds me out. I know it's Jed's band, I think. Well, not me. I've looked at just a few pictures of that and like, nope, I'm out. That sounds grand. And nobody was playing. I've never heard that piano played. It's in the lobby of a local hospital here. And I wanted my aunt to play it one time when she and I were over there visiting someone. I wanted her to play it. But one of these years, I guess I'll get to hear it played. Captain Do says slime doesn't work on guitars and amps. So there you go. There's something I wouldn't have known otherwise. Bad Tree Blake says J-Bo looks like a tomato. Lots of people in Six Sigma ran personal best at Tri-State yesterday. Good turnout. And he bought me a new shirt too. Cool. Good deal. Glad y'all had a good time. Unfinished projects says Bruce owned a couple of saxes and a clarinet. Yeah, yours like auction fodder or something, or what's the deal with that? Thumper said, I can't read music, but I can copy things pretty well with brass instruments. I've been making music with AI. Okay. Sounds wild. Halfwit Labs says, that's true. Slime does not work on guitars and amps. So this means you've tried it? There you go, Unfinished Project. If you want to come to Southwest Virginia for lessons, he's your guy. Come down here, get me on the way. I'll take you the rest of the way. You'll come down here southwest to me, then we'll go straight south to Bruce. He says, since I moved out to the middle of nowhere, I only have 2 students anymore. Oh, MO9 is, 9 is above the O on the keyboard. I just thought it was kind of cryptic like Dean. I'm like, what am I missing there? Danny Boy says, I too am musically illiterate. My music teacher couldn't tell because I played songs by ear. Okay. I know that my grandfather played by ear. My mom could read sheet music. Ask him, my aunt. Halfwit Labs says, I cannot answer questions about saxophone, but I can answer questions about guitars or live sound gear. I can answer one question about all of those things, and that is, do you know anything about them? I can answer that and say no. Bruce says old pianos are harder to get rid of than herpes. Yeah, that's true. I got one that would fit in that category, but I'm not getting rid of it. It was my mom's, and it can stay right where it is. I would miss it if it's gone. No, they aren't auction fodder. Well, good. Mohawk says there's an old piano in the ditch down the road from us. Oh, man. Bruce says, I'll be playing with the North Carolina Symphony in August if that's closer for anyone. What part of North Carolina? Where will you be? I have gone to hear Bruce play before. Crystal says, not really. We saw a piano in the ditch today, so I guess not that hard to get rid of. It was sad, though. Oh, gosh. Okay. Unfinished Project said his son performs. I huff and puff. There you go. Bruce says people around here, where are the strings? Okay. That backward, huh? Raleigh. He'll be in Raleigh. Okay. So if you're going to be in the central North Carolina area, you can hear Bruce perform with the North Carolina Symphony. That's cool. I like that. Captain Deuce says, I had 6 guitars total, but owned 2. I gave away my first one and smashed the others because of bad tuning. Okay. Matt Travers says, are you from the same Bluefield as the Stonewall Jacksons? I don't know that song. You can email it to me, and I can listen to it and tell you. My email, I'll post it if you want to, because I'm curious now. I'm going to post my email in the chat. If you want to send me that, I'll give it a listen and tell you. Probably so. Crystal Onyx says, I've got a trumpet I'm thinking about selling. Silvered it a year and decided it wasn't for him. Stonewall Jackson fought at Clarksburg, West Virginia. He was born in what's present-day West Virginia. It wasn't when he was born there, but Bruce says people around here just don't understand instruments that you have to blow into. Okay. The song is called Bluefield. Well, again, I don't know. If I knew more about it or why the song was, I could tell you if it's the same. I know a pretty good amount about my hometown. Old McDonald has a car. Howdy. He has returned. Captain Deuce says, I always thought this was a car talk channel, but now we're talking about music. I like music. And this channel gets on all kinds of stuff, these lives, all kinds of stuff. Bruce says, no sax or clarinet questions, so I'm out of here. Need to trim my toenails. There we go. Adios. Happy toenail trimming. Thumper broke out the Russian. Yeah. Yeah, I try to preserve a mostly automotive theme, but especially with these shorts every day, it depends what I'm doing. And you guys kind of get a snapshot of stuff I see and do every day. I have no idea what tomorrow's short will be. Last weekend, I uploaded Saturdays and Sundays shorts on Friday. And just had them scheduled to drop. I haven't done that for this weekend, so who knows what tomorrow will be. We just don't know yet. Danny Boy says, I heard Rollover Beethoven today, and it reminded me of 1981 riding in a bug with no heat in the winter. That song cranked. My goodness, it means you're old. Well, Mater, you just never know. Crystal says, our daughter plays the flute and a little bit of piano and clarinet. Cool. Halfwit Labs says, I haven't been able to sign up for No Name Nationals yet. Work is being slow with the fall schedule, sitting at 447 subs. It doesn't mean you're not able to sign up. It just means you might not be able to commit to coming. But, okay, that's cool. And 447 subs, right now we got a shorts challenge going, 30 shorts in 30 days. That will go a long way to get those subscribers. You're so close now, you should get your subscribers if you committed to it. So that shouldn't be the reason. Now, if you can't do it for other reasons, that's fine. But I'll tell you this, getting the subscribers part, that one you can definitely do. But we're 89 days out. 89 days, 2 hours, 46 minutes. So won't know his fall schedule till July. Yep, there you go. Well, hey, when it happens, let us know. We'll be looking for you. You can definitely get the rest of your subs, though. In fact, at 447, worst case, at 447, you could panhandle at Lambert's on Thursday and get your subs. But I think doing, your videos and stuff between now and then, you can get it. Captain Deuce says, my oldest brother plays well on the piano. He can do the theme music of Halloween with John Carpenter. That's cool. That's cool. Hey, make a short out of that. We'd like to see that. And if you want to see some really good covers done to stuff, including the Halloween theme and a lot of other stuff, the best channel on YouTube for cover music, especially if you like that vintage, the 80s and stuff, is a channel, Kos Music. K-O-S Music, Kos Music. And I've corresponded with that guy. He's really nice, really cool guy. That channel is awesome. His covers are fantastic. The most accurate covers of movie music and television music I have ever heard. I wish I had thought about. I wish this had come up when Bruce was still in here. But Kos Music. If any links, we'll put up a link to him. What a super cool guy. I've corresponded with him. He's actually put some stuff up for me before. I'm still waiting on him to get inspired to do the main theme for Miami Vice. It's right up his alley. If anybody can do perfect justice to that, it's him. Crystal says, even if I wanted to race, I only have 9 subs. So I'm way not going to get enough. Oh, no, you could get enough. You could. Hey, let me tell you something. A woman doing car stuff will get subs. Yes, it will. You can do it. You can absolutely do it. And you actually, too, if you are integrated into Mohawk's channel, that's legit, too. That is legit, too. If you are engaged and integrated into Mohawk's channel, legitimately, that counts, too. Crystal says, though my favorite is a very short clip of the Stitch hanging out of my incision. I got 30. Oh, yeah, there you go. That's that. See, that kind of stuff works, right? Thumper says, I played the Jaws attack music on a sousaphone in high school. Yeah, I can see that. Captain Dew says, I've not seen my oldest brother since 2021. He lives in New Hampshire, and I'm in Tennessee. He did the Halloween theme back in 2003 on the keyboard. Yeah, I like that. Thumper says, be a girl, put on a low-cut top, change the oil in the Jeep, and 50,000 subs and 3 videos. Yeah, about right. There's a lot of that stuff out there. I don't like any of that stuff, but whatever. I don't know who it says more about, the person creating the content or all the people who subscribe to it. I got to tell you, I've been to both Nashville and Las Vegas, and they are not alike at all, and I don't know where that even comes from. Mater wants to know what motorcycle that is in Crystal's thumbnail picture there in the avatar there. This one right here. Mater wants to know, what bike is that? This bike. What is that? Captain Deuce says Iron City, Tennessee, above the Alabama state line, 20 miles from Florence, Alabama. There you go. Yeah, there's so much of that garbage going on in YouTube. I don't like any of that. I really don't. I didn't even know that was a thing until last year. There was some girl that had this oval window Volkswagen Beetle. I thought, that is really cool. And I clicked for the car. So that's really neat. It had a lot of views. I thought, that's, it's an oval window bug. It was a really nice car. And this girl was giving a tour of it. And she was kind of dressed like she worked the street corner. I thought, well, okay, the car is cool. I thought that was kind of, what's that? What's up with that? But she gave a really respectable tour of the car. It was her car, and this is the engine. This is what we've done to the chassis and stuff. I'm like, it's really good. But then I noticed in the description of the video, I wanted to read more about the car. And click here for these other links and all this. I said, what is all that? I click on it, and then it said, go here for my social media. I said, okay, enough of that. I figured out what that was. I didn't know that was a thing. But apparently on YouTube, there's these people that click here to go here to go here, and that's how they kind of launder their other stuff through YouTube. So whatever. Not my bag. I don't know, man. Like I say, I've been to both. It's whatever. But they're both wild places, I guess. Crystal says, thread count on the nuts and screws are European metric. Oh, that just sounds weird. How is that not just metric? You're saying European metric, but European metric is metric, right? Since I live here, it's getting cheesy. Yeah, it's changed a lot in the last 20, 30 years, that's for sure. The threads are thinner. Ooh. Thinner? Well, so there is a lot of science actually to how threads are made. And if you actually look at a diagram of the description of threads, there's different angles within the threads and the root of the thread and all that. And I've read a lot about that stuff, and we had to take classes on fasteners when I was in school, and there is a lot to know about them, but not much people do. Most people kind of know, thread counts, sizes, and torque, and that's about it. But there is actually a lot more to know about threads and the way they're made and cut and the angles. I'll tell you where you learn a lot about that stuff is when you start making threads on a lathe. That's where you really need to know how to read the blueprint on threads and know about the depths and everything to cut a thread on a lathe. Halfwit says Nashville is an hour away from Nashville. Yeah, I could see that. Kind of like Atlanta's about 3 hours away from Atlanta. Crystal says she bring it to No Name Nationals, doesn't run curly. Well, there you go. Mohawk says Asian metric has a different thread pitch than European. Oh my gosh, I can't tell you how much I hate that. Anything to make stuff harder to deal with. Did you say 30 years I'm getting old? How old are you? As I recall, you're actually a pretty young guy, Captain Duke. Danny Boy says, I've cut threads with a tap, but never a lathe. Yeah, cutting them with a lathe is fun. For those of you who haven't cut threads with a lathe, you don't know what you're missing. So you calculate, I'm trying to remember how you actually do this. There's a power feed switch, and it's got a dial that goes around, and it's got numbers on it. And any one of a certain number, you hit your power feed, and it takes off in the same spot. If you hit it on the wrong number, it'll take off in a slightly different spot. And then what you get is you get a thread that looks like this. Instead of being a straight peak, it'll be a peak, then a little tiny valley and another peak. And it's not quite right. But the thing is if you hit that power feed, let's say the thing's got like 6 numbers. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It'll say you can hit it on either 3 or 5. Either one. When you hit it going around. I guess that's because that's where the threads end on their spirals. So it doesn't matter which one. I don't remember exactly how you do it, but you can cut threads on a lathe with a power feed. I've done it. I don't really remember. It's been a few years. I've done it a few times. And it'll cut a nice clean thread, but you just gotta have it down, and you gotta hit your timing right every time on the power feed and all that. It's all right. I mean, it's okay. Especially if you got to cut a long thread. But I did it making a screw for a C-clamp. We did it as a class project. I really enjoyed that. Thumper says, I've broken taps and pieces and drill bits too. Give me a Bridgeport and watch me make a huge mess with chips. I bet. Captain Do says metric numbers makes my brain sore, bolts and yeah, well, whatever. Metrics, it's one of these things. If we just grown up with either and used either, it'd be fine. I've gotten to where I'm fluent enough in both. I know what the sizes in between are all, and that's kind of how I think of it. So I kind of think of it as 7/16, 11 millimeter, 12 millimeter, half, 13 millimeter, 14 millimeter, 9/16. I kind of think of them in sequence, but like that. And I'm almost at the point where I wish my wrenches and sockets were arranged that way, mixed together in order of size. So, for example, if I got for instance, I'll never use a 9/16 line wrench on anything. I use a 14 on my 9/16 on lines because it's tighter and it's less likely to spread and round up that nut. Mohawk says the car was bad and the charging system isn't working. That probably describes half the vehicles that we own, right? Dean says metrics because it's not just the English and Romans who tried to divide and conquer. Yeah. Halfwit Labs says, gotta love the UK where they readily switch back and forth from metric to imperial and then accuse Americans of being dumb for using imperial. Yeah, I don't like to take being called dumb from people who lose wars. How about that? Grand Pito Vic is here. Howdy. Thanks for swinging by. We appreciate you. Have you made any progress on your LS start stand adventures, Grand Pito Vic? Colleen likes the idea. Yeah, I do, because that's how I think of it. I think of 3/8 and then 10 in consecutive order, because that's just how they are in my mind, because I've used both so long. I just kind of think that's how they should be in your toolbox and everything. You might say that's crazy, but I don't know about that. If I got a half that's kind of rounded up and kind of a mess, I'm going to tap a 12 millimeter onto that thing to take it off. Just seems logical to me. Some metrics cannot fit with SA numbers. No, I know that. There's different sizes, but there's some that are so close they take up the natural slop they put in there anyway. I mean, wrenches and sockets are built with a clearance for a reason, and sometimes it's better to not have that clearance. Matt Travers says metric absolutely makes sense, but when you grow up with Imperial, you will always have to. That's right. This is true. Metric does absolutely make sense. I agree with that. The metric system makes a lot of sense for temperatures and everything else. We use this weird system where 32 is freezing and 212 is boiling. Pure weirdness. The 0 to 100 is great, but I'm so not used to it. I don't know that 22 degrees is room temperature or something. That's weird. I get it. And what in the world is a 12 inches is a foot and all that? None of that makes any sense, but we use it because it's what's familiar. Heavens Mopar Scots has taken a 2.5-hour road trip with Dad on Sunday, picking up a TA hood for a 70 Challenger, another gold met and crossed off. Not having it shipped, right? For those of you who know, you know. Thumper says, when I was machining, as long as it was within, what are we talking about there, Thumper? 10,000ths of an inch format? I didn't care if it was metric or SAE. Make it a spec and call it good. Yeah, okay. Mohawk says, why when you buy a metric set or inches, is there no 16? Oh, no, I've seen lots of metrics with 16 in a set. The important one to have is a 17, though. It'd be awful if the set just went to 16 and didn't have a 17. The one that I think is the most uncommon is 18. And I've only found a few 18 fasteners in my entire life. And one of them is the bolt that holds the camshafts in a 2.0 liter Dodge 4-cylinder is 18. There aren't many 18s you're going to encounter in this world, but that's one of them. Thumper says, we aren't metric because of pirates. Okay. $13 millimeter is half, not 12. Well, why would 13 be 12? Because it's not 12, it's 13. That doesn't make any sense. And 13 is not half. 13 is bigger than half. 13 is a lazy half. But half can make a good substitute where you got to round it up. 13, you can tap a half on there. It's pretty tight, though. Buff Del Campo says, I had to buy a separate 16 and 18 because they were missing the sets. Yeah, not all sets going to have a 16, but virtually no set has the 18. 18 is much less common. Dust Devil says 16 and a 5/8 are, yeah, roughly. Thumper says an 18 is the brake caliper fastener on a 2000 Silverado. So there you go. There's another odd place that 18 is used. Dan says half will bust a 12 loose sometimes too. Yeah, I guess. But I try to only use them when it's a little tighter, not when it's a little looser. That's kind of how I do it. 38 says 10, 13, and 18 for the common sizes in his world. Okay, well, in a Volkswagen, 10, 13, and 17 are the common sizes in a Volkswagen. Beckerwood Custom says, whoever makes something with a 16 or 18 is the devil. You aren't kidding. I had to buy an 18 millimeter inch. Yeah, you had to because you found the one job you needed it for. And that's why I wasn't in the set in the first place. Halfwit refuses to buy sets with skips anymore. Been burned a couple. Well, yeah, I get it. Turbo Tom says Mopar power steering line wrenches are 18 and 20. Yeah, this chat right here is going to know all those weird places that's used. Dougster says, have no fear, the Dougster is here. Howdy. Captain Deuce says a 12 millimeter will not fit half bolts and had to use a 13 on a Dodge truck. No, you should use a half. I mean, No, and a 12 won't fit on a half. If you had a half that was rounded up, you could probably hammer it on. That's what we're saying. No, but it won't fit it. I only like that when it'll fit a little bit tighter. Like a 14 will fit tighter on a 9. Not a 9, on a 9/16, for example. So I had some intake manifold bolts that were a little bit chewed up, and I took them out with a 14 because it was tighter. Thumper says, work on 80s Mopars. They have SAE on one of the faster and metric on the other. Oh, yeah. With unique threads, and if you lose the thing, V6 Mitsubishi powered. Yeah. That all sounds about right. Sounds like a big fountain of yuck to me. Halfwit says the bolts of my tensioner was a 16, now it's a 12 thanks to ARP. Yep, that can be handy. Of course, you don't want that head getting rounded off where it's smaller like that, but yeah. Main Street Mopar says I have 2 open-end metric wrenches that I use quite often, an 8 and a 9. Yeah, 9's another one we don't see much of at all. See a lot of 8 and 10. Dougster's giving us an update. The CRT shift pack is assembled minus the rooster comb. Cool. We're getting really close. Thank you for the update, Mr. Dougster. Crystal says the doctor pulled my stitch out that's been hanging. Well, I've never gone to a doctor to have stitches taken out. I've been to a doctor to have them put in. Heavens Mopar Scots has been looking for that hood forever. Finally found one I can afford. Yeah, I'm sure they're not cheap. Beckerwood Customs says, my 9mm spanner is pristine. I bet. In my world, 9mm means one thing. I mean, which reminds me of the shirt I'm wearing. For those who can't read the whole thing, loving my new handheld wireless device. Yeah, in my world, 9 is 9 by 19. Halfwit says, so what you're saying is if I put content on my car channel about getting medical procedures, I'll get more subs? No, not saying that at all. But I'm saying you can put different stuff on there and see what sticks if you want to. I do YouTube for fun. I don't act all serious about it like some people do. To me, YouTube is about fun and community. It's about this right here. I had someone who we all know say YouTube is it's only people only do YouTube for fame or money, and I actually found that kind of offensive. So this was the shirt, the shirt for last year's No Name Nationals. To me, YouTube is about you guys. It's about community. Danny Boy says, I've never had a stitch somehow. Well, you're fortunate. I have. You can see every one that went in that finger. You can see where they came out of that finger. I've had a few. They're not fun. Halfwit Lev says, I'm not serious about literally anything ever. Okay. I'm glad your life allows that. Yeah, Crystal's talking about something about closing a scar. Well, this closing a wound. Okay. Thumper says the sun sets here tonight at 10:24. It's the longest day. Okay. Big Mike says, I have that shirt minus the sleeves. You and the English boys, you like to make them sleeveless, huh? We'll be doing another specialty shirt for the No Name Nationals, a limited edition 2025, I'm sure. I'm sure we will. But that shirt was inspired by hearing a popular YouTuber say that people only get into YouTube for 2 reasons, money or fame. And I'm like, no. I'm in it to make friends for life and get to see them once a year who I would never have been able to meet otherwise. I'm in it because I could never live long enough to go and visit all of these cool people I've met through YouTube. And yet, the No Name National, this community allows us to do just that. So that's what I'm in it for. I make no money from this. And if you think 30 people watching tonight is fame. And I seriously doubt that either. I'm just having fun with you guys. I love this. I wouldn't trade it for anything. Mater says a MIG welder, a cutoff grinder, and good planning can build anything. Perhaps. "38 Racing says, I've had over 100 unplanned stitches at one time, thanks to gravity and poor choices. Of course, most stitches are unplanned. Whew. Makes me hurt thinking about it. I don't like needles. I don't like any of that stuff. Had a few, but I don't like it. And all the stitches I've had done around here, you can't even see where they were. All the ones I've had done other places, like Bluefield, you can see where every one of them was. Not all people who stitch skin are created equal. What can I say? Yeah, even though both Dougster and Thumper are both Michigan folks, they are 12 hours apart easily. That's what I say to people who think that Northern Virginia is where no. Northern Virginia is a different world than here. We're in the southwestern part of the state, completely different. Northern Virginia is more like New York than here. And I mean southern New York, New York City. Because, as you know, northern New York is nothing like southern New York. Thumper says it was light this morning at 5 o'clock. I can't remember. I think it's light here, 5 something. Halfwit Lab says, what do you call the doctor who graduated med school with a D average? Doctor. That's right. Main Street Mopar says, I got more staples and stitches. I've never had staples. I've had stitches, never had staples. And I've never been to New York. I almost went last year when I was delivering that transmission to Dawn. I was an hour from the state line, and I thought, I really want to just cross the state line and take my picture with me and Jethro in front of the sign so Jethro could go to his 19th state. But I just couldn't make enough time. So I didn't. Yeah, a bunch of questions about stitches and glue and staples and ouch, 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 ouch squared. Yeah, I don't like any of that. I was doing plumbing work until right before this live. Got a bathroom in this house I just never use. I only use the tub for Jethro. And I just never used it. So I'm actually kind of bringing that bathroom up to speed so that it functions as a respectable bathroom should in a house. I don't even use like 2/3 of this house. I live in like a small part of it. Dust Devil Garage says, I have friends in Virginia Beach, and I know that is nowhere near you. Oh, yeah, it's other end of the state. Other end of the state. I like it over there. It's nice. In fact, I really like the Williamsburg area before you get there. But yeah, other end of the state. Don't remind me about the beach. Beach is great. Heavens Mopar says, I also use YouTube to record the progress on all the mini projects I have, kind of like a journal, but in video format. Kind of fun to see the progression on how. Yeah, I agree. It's great to go back and look at old videos you did years ago, and it's just cool. It's stuff you wouldn't have otherwise. Mohawk says, so who likes chocolate chip cookies? I'm down with chocolate chip cookies. Big Mike says, I've had a stitch or two. Yeah, man, me too. Just a few. Most of mine, that's a moving truck backed into a wall. That's a dumbbell in the gym. That's putting a grill in a car. Yeah, a handful. Should have gotten stitches in my leg. Instead, I taped it, and it didn't heal back great, but it worked. Halfwit says, I have family on both ends of Virginia, Blacksburg and Norfolk. Well, I'm only 8 miles from Blacksburg right here. Mean Street says my oldest brother lives in Virginia Beach. Virginia Beach is Virginia's biggest city. There's over 500,000 people there. Big place. Captain Dew would like to go back to Chicago. I haven't been there since my oldest brother, U.S. Navy graduation in 01. The only time I've been to Chicago was with Cope. So I've been there a couple of times. It's cool. I'd like to go back sometime. We'll just have to see. Dust Devil Garage says, I've done good tonight. No food violence. Yes. Halfwit says, I have a buddy that lost an eyeball from an OBS truck headlight bolt. Oh, that sounds awful. Crystal says, been there, not interested in going back to Virginia Beach. Yeah, that place is not my cup of tea. The beach itself is fine, but I'll tell you what, the city of Virginia Beach, that's another story. Turbo Tom says, my videos are about the junk I work on daily. Yeah, that sounds just great. I haven't done as much car stuff lately, so I've been doing videos on just what I'm doing now. I really want to get my house stuff done this year so that I can do more car stuff next year, hopefully. Old McDonald says, we were expecting 1 inch plus hail tonight. So I have to remember to put my truck in the garage before bed. I would just, it's 9:51, dude. I would just do it right now so I don't forget. Dust Devil Garage says, once I leave Illinois, I will never be back. I usually visit a few hundred feet of Illinois every year, going to the No Name Nationals. And when I say a few hundred feet, I'm not exaggerating. I cross in from Wickliffe, Kentucky on one bridge, just barely touch Illinois, and then immediately take another bridge out of Illinois. That's about it. I was only in Chicago for like 2 or 3 days. That's more than I've ever been in Chicago. I've been in Chicago a few hours here and a few hours there. I don't think I've never been without Cope. I've been there, I think, twice with Cope. And we had a lot of fun, too. We drove around looking at Chicago Christmas lights, looking at the Blues Brothers filming locations, drifting corners. He dared me to stick my feet in Lake Michigan. We had a lot of fun. Halfwit worries about the crazy storms we get in the early summer. Yeah, and that part of the Tennessee is. You get a lot of flooding there, too. Unfortunately, Cope is Illinois, so some still have to. Cope is actually in Indiana. He got out of Illinois. He's right across the state line now. Dust Devil applied for my Ford card through the commies. Yeah, I actually have an Illinois CHP. They make it ridiculously expensive and cumbersome to get. Cope's tour guide. Showed me where he met his wife. Yeah, Cope is very nostalgic. He's a good tour guide. Good dude, too. Captain Dude also like to go back to Boston. I've never been there. Blue Grit says, I need to post a short of taking the gas tank out of Anna's 67 with pry bars and rubber mallet because somebody went crazy with clear silicone. Yeah, what a mess. I just fixed a mess with silicone doing this shower rehash in here, and it's a rehab in here, and it's a mess. Big Mike says, I've been in Illinois via the journey, but never the destination. Exactly. That's actually me with Michigan. The only place in Michigan I have ever been is the inside of that airport in Detroit, whatever that is. Only place in Michigan I've ever been. Flew into that airport. I remember being in the airport. I went to Wendy's while I was there to get something to eat and flew back out of the airport. All the Michigan I've ever seen in my life. Mater says, if I can't find someone that wants to buy this Challenger, I'll have fun cutting it up for scrap. I can't imagine that's not up Scott's alley. Thumper says, I try to avoid Illinois as possible. Makes my trip to Sikeston 4 hours longer if I go around Illinois. Yeah, I hear that. I drove the northern route home one year and went through a bunch of Illinois. Danny Boy says, I've never seen a Wendy's in an airport. Well, I sure saw one in Detroit because I ate there. Might be the only time I've seen one in an airport, though. Mohawk says the FOID card means the government wants to know what guns you have. Yeah, I don't participate in that. You don't have to have a FOID card if you apply for a non-resident Illinois concealed handgun permit. I do know that. That whole thing is just stupid, but that's a whole other topic. Illinois is just, it's one of the worst managed states in the country, possibly the worst. It has the most layers of government. It's the most mismanaged fiscal disaster state there is. And the people who live there, I will bet, will back me up on every bit of that. Thumper says, I saw a Burger King in a semi-trailer in Kuwait. That's pretty wild. At Virginia Tech, we had a Burger King in this building on campus. And then in another part, we had a Chick-fil-A, Au Bon Pain. Well, the Au Bon Pain pastry shop, a student cut another student's head off in there one time. I was not in there when it happened, or it would not have happened. But, yeah. We have a lot of franchises over at Tech. I would have thought California was the worst. It may be, but Illinois rivals it. We're talking administration, the governance. Illinois and California are 1 and 2 for the worst. Mohawk said, that's why we left Illinois and moved to Tennessee. Well, there you go. What part of Illinois were you in, Mohawk? That's why Mater likes Texas when it comes to guns. Yeah. Well, I will say, I completely respect the people who will stay home and not give their state away to the communists and will stay and try to change it. I have watched Virginia do some changing for the worst because of apathetic voting in this decade. But you know what? I've done my part to try to keep it as free as I can. Dust Devil says, I'm working on moving back to Missouri. Yep, it's not a bad idea. I have no idea what Quad Cities is, Crystal. Where is that? Halfwit's announcing he's leaving. 1 minute and 45 seconds before the end of the live. Cool. Shyster-looking governor there is. At one time, you could say 3 out of the last 4 governors of Illinois had gone to prison at one time. I remember Rod Blagojevich was the most famous of which, but I think it was 3 out of 4 at one time. I just don't know who all did. Captain Deuce says, gun law in Texas, what is it? Does everybody have right to own? I don't know what, I can't understand your question there. If that is a question, I will say this. I believe that everybody has that right by birth, and all of these government denials in different states layer on in different ways. That's my opinion. Thumper says, I want to move to Nebraska, Iowa, Missouri, or Kansas because there are car things to do there. This place is boring for cars. Snowmobiles, on the other hand, but I'm not into them. Make it happen, man. I like where I live. This is a great place. It's just a really good place here. I mean, any direction you go, there's too much of whatever or not enough of whatever, and I like where I am right here. I'm 5 hours from the coast. I just wish I had more opportunity to get there. We got mountains galore. You don't have to go that far for flat land either. It's pretty here. It's nice. It's quiet. Can't find land I can afford. You can't find land you can afford in a place you want to live. Oh boy, you know what? We're going to close the live down with this one of Dean's and figure this out, what he's saying here. People who say 1 inch is equal to 25.40000000 millimeters are wrong, because one Frenchman decided not to use a projection correction in 1959. They changed it to 1 inch equals 25.4. No decimal points past the 1. Okay, I like that. And with that, we're going to shut it down. Thank you guys for being here. If you have not yet registered for the 4th annual AHRA No Name Nationals, the link is pinned at the top. If you have any tech questions for Deke, we're going to have him coming up here really soon. Buff says we'll be live tomorrow night. Mrs. One-Eyed Cat says hi from Ohio again. And with that, I'm out. Don't forget to catch the AHRA Tech Talk Live on Wednesday nights at 8 Eastern, 7 Central, and we'll be back here a week from now on Friday. So with that, you guys have a great and safe weekend, and I am out.